I want to talk about bandwagons and people jumping on and off them like it's an Olympic sport. Loyalty. A lot of people lack loyalty. There are too many people who only want to back the winner. That way they can say, yeah, I'm a fan of the team that won the Super Bowl. But, whoop-de-fucking-do. That it really means nothing if you only start backing them because they won the Super Bowl. Honestly. And it always pisses me off. Like with Tom Brady, everyone's now a Patriots fan, and I had an argument with somebody once, and they were like, "Well, hey, I've been a Patriots fan for 9 years, so don't give me any of that bullshit." And I'm like, you've been a Patriots fan for 9 years. I'm sure that has nothing to do with the fact that 10 years ago, Tom Brady and the Patriots won the Super Bowl. And in the past 9 years that you've been a fan of them, there was only one season where they didn't make the playoffs. And that was the year Tom Brady was hurt. They still won 11 games that season. So yeah, sure, you're a very loyal fan. It has nothing to do with you backing a winner. So who are you a fan of before they won the Super Bowl? I mean, seriously. Last season, and people started just suddenly. No, 2 years ago, in 2010, people just suddenly started liking the Texans. I mean, for the first 5+ years of their franchise, nobody gave a fuck about the Texans. They just happened to be there. They were in the shadows. They were in the background. But then suddenly 2 seasons ago, the Texans are on the map, and everyone's saying, well, fuck the Cowboys. They're not going anywhere with Romo, so we're just gonna start backing the Texans. They're the new Texas team. And first of all, that season the Texans fell flat. Cowboys showed them up. They beat them in the head-on matchup. They had a better season record, and I was throwing that in everyone's face. And then next year, everyone's still going for the Texans instead of the Cowboys because they know Texans are going to do better. And they did. But they still fell flat. It's not necessarily their fault. I mean, if they had a healthy Matt Schaub and Andre Johnson all season long, they probably could have won the Super Bowl. They had a good team. But at the same time, that's the only reason anyone was cheering for them, because they thought that they could win. It's kind of like with Texas baseball. I mean, in Texas, baseball really doesn't exist. Not until the Rangers are in the World Series. 2 years in a row, nobody ever watched a single baseball game. Then suddenly, oh my God, the Rangers, they're in the World Series. Yeah, Texas! And they're sitting there watching every single second of it until they start losing, and then everyone starts walking away and game ain't even over. It's like, okay, y'all are some real fans right there. I mean, it's all bullshit. And me personally, I back the same 3 teams every single season: the Spurs, the Silver Stars, and the Cowboys, no matter what. Now, for me, I'm lucky in the fact that as long as I've been alive, the Spurs have been great, basically. Right after I started being a Spurs fan, they drafted Tim Duncan, Greg Popovich took over, and they started winning championships. They're in contention every single year. That's lucky for me, but even when they stop being in contention, they're never really the favorites. I'm still going to be a Spurs fan. A lot of people just, the Lakers, they're the biggest market in basketball. A lot of people jumping on the Heat bandwagon as soon as LeBron goes there. And now with Dwight going to LA, even more people jumping right back into the Lakers bandwagon. But me, I'm always going to back the Spurs. I'll never even watch a basketball game that the Spurs are not playing in. I have not seen I have never sat through an entire basketball game that the Spurs were not participating in. I mean, I see no point in it. The only team that I want to win is the Spurs. Same, and with the WNBA, it's a little different. I'll watch a lot more games just trying to give them support because they're very underappreciated, but at the same time, I always want the Silver Stars to win the championship. They're the team I'm always going for. And when it comes to football, I mean, I love the sport. I love football. I love, like with Peyton Manning and the Colts. A lot of people loved the Colts as long as Peyton Manning was there, but as soon as he goes down, they start getting no one's rooting for them. And me personally, I'm kind of the same way, but not exactly, because I never once claimed to be a fan of the Colts. I never called myself a Colts fan. I always loved Peyton Manning, and I often find myself rooting for him. I love watching him play. I want him to win, but I was never a Colts fan. I was always a Peyton Manning fan. Since Peyton Manning happened to be playing for the Colts, I would find myself cheering for that team. Now Peyton Manning happens to be playing for the Broncos, so I find myself cheering for them. And at the same time, like with the Ravens, I'm not really a fan of the Ravens, but I love Ray Lewis. He's my favorite player ever. I love Terrell Suggs, Ed Reed, Ray Rice, and so oftentimes, whenever the Ravens are playing a game, I find myself rooting for them. But anytime Peyton Manning would line up against the Cowboys, I'm rooting for the Cowboys. Anytime that the Cowboys are facing off against the Ravens, I'm hoping that our running back breaks Ray Lewis's jaw. It's not going to happen, but I'm kind of hoping for it. Okay, I'm not really hoping for it because I love Ray Lewis, but you get the point. I love the Cowboys. They are always my team. And while I admit the Texans are a very strong team, and there are times when I'll cheer for them, they have a lot of great players who I really respect. Andre Johnson is, in my opinion, the best wideout in the game. Imagine what his career would have been like if they'd had a franchise quarterback a few years ago. Because don't forget, he's already 31. He doesn't have a lot of good years left, and he hasn't really had a lot of Pro Bowl seasons. But at the same time, the Cowboys are always going to be my team. And I find myself, even though I like a lot of these players like Foster and Johnson, I find myself constantly rooting for Houston to lose because I want the Cowboys to prove that they're better than Houston. Just because too many people keep jumping on their fucking bandwagon. And for me, I'm a Cowboys fan for life. That's how it is. And yes, I had to be a Cowboys fan. I grew up in Texas during the 90s. And, yes, I became a fan of them because they won Super Bowls. That's how it is. I was wearing an Emmitt Smith jersey before I even knew what football was. But, at the same time, I stayed a fan. I stayed loyal to them through everything, through all the bullshit, even through Quincy Carter. Come on. When Quincy Carter was the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, everyone had a damn good excuse not to cheer for them. I don't know what they were thinking with that. Quincy Carter and Jamarcus Russell have to be two of the biggest mistakes that have ever been made by any NFL franchise. But at the same time, the Cowboys are still my team. I will always cheer for them to win. I would cheer for them through the entire Romo era. I will always back Romo. I will always back DeMarcus Ware. It's when I am a Cowboys fan, loyal to the end. Because for me, I treat sports like I would treat a girlfriend. When you find one that you love, you should stick with it. Stick with the team you love even when there are down times. Because relationships, they go through a lot of, bad shit. And there's a lot of struggle. But when you find success through that struggle, it makes it all so much more worth it.